Welcome to another episode of CPOV Autographs. I, of course, am Matt, aka Stormageddon. And before we get into this week's episode, I do want to shout out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon. I've been a featured streamer for Fuser for quite some time now, and I'm streaming Fuser at least once a week. If you don't know what Fuser is, it's a DJ game by the folks who made Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and I've essentially been putting on digital DJ sets for many months now, and it's been a blast. And so if you want to come and just groove and listen to some good music, come check that out. You can give me a follow and you'll be notified when I go live. Again, it's twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon. But enough about that. On to this week's episode. I am chatting with the incredible, charismatic, stunning, and brilliant Ashlie Atkinson. I've known Ashlie for quite some time now, and she is one of the most delightful and infectious people I know. Her laugh cures all. She is just one of the kindest, most brilliant, and effervescent humans I've ever met. And we get to talk about her acting, how she got started, the kind of projects she's worked on, what it's like to work on some of those projects. It's all in this episode, and it was an absolute blast from start to finish. So buckle in, get ready to laugh, and get ready to enjoy my chat with the incredible Ashlie Atkinson. Yeah, so I am excited to chat with you. I feel like it's been forever since we've actually seen each other.
Ages. Literal ages.
God, I can't even think of how long it had. We have to have seen each other since Steal the Stars, right? I feel like, or maybe
I've
not.
seen Sarah since then. Yeah. I know. I can't remember I feel like the last time I saw Sarah was in 773.
Oh yeah.
I guess there was a trivia evening, but I don't remember if I saw you or not.
I don't know if I was at that one.
Yeah.
Time is weird after 2020. So it's like, how long ago was anything anymore?
Oh, it was definitely pre 2020. It was definitely pre-pan.
Pre-pan.
Thanks so much for having me on here.
Oh, friend. I'm so excited. Really, you have no idea. I've been meaning to ask for ages, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I'll ask Ashlie, and then other things come up, and you've been super duper busy as well, I know. And I guess before we get any further, for the listeners, I want to introduce the incredible Ashlie Atkinson, who is our guest. I first met you, I think, during the 24-hour plays, or the musicals, maybe. Does that sound right?
Yes, absolutely, and it was the musicals. I tend to do weirdly because I'm not a musical theater person, but every time I do the 24-hour plays, it tends to be the musicals. I just think they're so fun. I find it easier to memorize songs than lines, frankly. So I'm always excited when they ask me to do it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, you can, during the plays, you could get dramas, you can get comedies, whereas for the musicals, for the most part, they're all comedies, and like the wackier the better most of the time, which is always fun.
Indeed.
And so I think the first thing I really want to talk about is something that we briefly mentioned a moment ago. One of my favorite things you've done, which is playing one of the lead roles, Dak, in the incredible audio drama Steal the Stars, created by Mac Rogers, who is a previous guest of the show, starring co-stars like Abe Goldfarb, who is also a previous guest of the show, and the novelization, which was written by Nat Cassidy, who's also a previous guest of the show. So it's kind of like full circle with the Steal the Stars stuff.
Well, first of all, thank you for listening, and second of all, obviously with those sorts of co-conspirators. How could I have anything but the best time possible, frankly? Like, what a dream that whole project was from beginning to end. It was absolutely delightful.
It feels unreal that it existed a little, right?
Like, I know. Oh, well, you should have made it. It was insane. It was like summer camp. And it was summer camp where I got to be the kid that went every day, which was super fun. I've never really gotten to be that kid in a thing where... Well, in plays, I guess, but certainly not in anything recorded where I was the kid that was there every day and it was my story that was being followed, which was really exciting. And so I got to hang out with Jordana and Sean and Mac and, Bart, who was our great sound engineer and creator, and Nat, who was just listening in when he wasn't acting so he could write the novelization. It was just the stuff of dreams, to get to hang out with that crew. And then have people coming in every day, a different person every day coming in to record with you. And of course there were, the usual suspects of Nima and Abe and a bunch of other folks, Brian Silliman, Nat, of course, just a whole bunch of great folks. But then you would get these incredible, just as good, like just phenomenal performers that are doing one scene in that show. And that's the sort of depth of the Gideon roster, right? That like these kids have been working together for a really long time. And this is the first project. Jordana directed me in a Fringe show that was sort of a deconstructed two-hander where it was a series of 2 monologues, and I did one and Brian Silliman did the other, which is how I met all of these folks. But this is my first Gideon project proper, and the bench is so deep on these projects. They just have the level of talent, and the amount of talent that they can just throw at anything is extraordinary, unprecedented, in my opinion.
It's wild. And it's funny too, because like, so my spouse, Sarah, who I met you through.
Yes.
Has known those folks for ages. And I remember when she was first telling me about Mac, and she's like, I think the first show of Mac's I saw was Frankenstein Upstairs. And I had total blind spot. I had no idea who Mac was. I had no idea what his work was. And then she took me to see that. And I just like, my mouth was agape the entire show. And I'm like, wait, are you telling me someone's making in-depth science fiction for theater? What?
Right.
And so like when I first heard about Steal the Stars, like knowing you were in it, knowing Mac was writing it, I was like, this is an all-star project. This is going to be huge. And my favorite thing about Steal the Stars is, so Sarah and I watch a lot of TV together. We have appointment TV. Currently it's stuff like Loki, and she's rewatching The West Wing with me, which I've never seen before.
Oh, that's fun.
But back when Steal the Stars came out, we never sat and just listened to audio podcasts together while eating dinner. But when Steal the Stars came out, every new episode, we sat at the dinner table, we ate dinner, and we listened to the new episode.
Oh, I'm absolutely thrilled. And you just listened to me and Nima slurping away on each other for 10 episodes. Listen, it is a good day at work when you get to make out with Nima Jarabji. I'm just going to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
The most delightful human being. And I just had so much fun. Also, like, I'm never the person that gets to do both things, right? That gets to play the sort of heavy in terms of characterization, sort of the figure of authority that then breaks bad.
Yeah. And
also get to have the reverse noir femme fatale love interest with someone like Nima, who elevated that role. Mac wrote a great role, and I feel like if other actors did it, they would have been like, oh, this is the noir femme, and all I have to play is A, B, and C. Right. And Nima made Matt Salem into an incredibly nuanced and complicated character whose whole jam was that on the surface, he was just this guy, that you have to go 6 layers before you get him to admit that there's more. And then there's everything, which I think is a great choice.
I'm so fascinated by that show, how it was cast. Like, how long was the production? How long did it take to record everything? Especially since you were pretty much a part of every single scene, more or less.
I mean, I feel like it took all summer. Mm-hmm. I feel like I might be wrong. I know we had a party maybe in September.
That sounds right.
Late August, early September. But we started in earnest recording, I think, in May. And we did, also, we did a pilot, which was really me not really knowing or understanding what the fuck was going on. And Sean and Jordana and Mac being like, hey, come do this thing with us. And I was like, always, no matter what. Yes. And asking what it is in the car on the way over, basically. And I just really fell in love with Dak, and I didn't know if anything was going to come of it, and I met Nima that first night. We had never met before. And we had such a good time recording sort of abbreviated versions of episode 1, but a lot of the tendons of it were already there, and it was just tremendous. I mean, Mac's words are just a gift.
Oh my
Especially, man, I couldn't believe how every episode I would come in and I'd be like, how do you write a character? Like, we don't know each other that well. Like, how do you write a character that feels so natural in my mouth? That sounds, I was about to say filthier than I meant it to, but you know what? Just as filthy as it should, frankly.
Of course.
Dak just felt right in my mouth the whole time. and I just don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
It's an incredible gift to be able to craft plot and suspense and emotion, and also make fully distinct characters that are real individuals and that feel really easy. Like, it just felt really easy to play her, weirdly.
Yeah, it felt like, it's funny because knowing a bunch of the cast also, it felt natural to hear you say those words. And I didn't even at that time know you that well. We had met a few times, but it just felt so natural. And it's like, I tease Abe. I'm like, man, you're good at playing a douchebag, let me tell you. And he laughs, but like playing Trip.
Right.
Like, I know Abe is one of the sweetest, kindest humans I've ever met. But listening to him play Trip in that show, that podcast, was like, this is a perfect fit.
Oh, it's so good. Let me tell you, I had not met Abe until the first day he came in to record. Mm-hmm. And Abe is, the only way I know how to put it is, Abe is my Paris, in that I did a world tour of Shakespeare in 2009, 2010, in a thing called the Bridge Project. And we went to all these really cool places, right? We went to Hong Kong and Singapore and Madrid and Amsterdam and like all these great places. And every time I told anyone my itinerary, they were like, oh, Paris. Oh, you're going to love Paris. Oh, Paris. I mean, you're never going to want to leave. And I was like, yeah, but we're going to Madrid and Amsterdam. Like, I'm going to all these places. And then I got to Paris and I was like, oh, shit. Everyone was right. This is my jam down to the ground. And that's sort of what Abe was like, in that for weeks, Jordana and Sean and Mac and Nat were all, oh God, wait till you meet Abe. You and Abe are going to have so much fun. And I was like, well, I'm having fun with the people that are here now, and then Abe showed up and I was like, oh no, I'm going to know this man the rest of my life.
Yeah. He's one of those people who are always so fun to play with. He was a guest on my TV and movie podcast, Screen Snark. And my co-host Rachel is also a comedian, and like, it was a 2-hour long podcast, and I think I never got a word in edgewise.
Oh, sure.
Riff
God,
after
he's
riff.
fast. Isn't he fast?
Oh my God.
If you're on vocal rest, just get Brian Silliman and Abe Goldfarb to go out with you, because you don't have to say anything. And they are deeply interested in your opinion.
Yes.
It's not like they're in any way self-absorbed.
No.
It's just, they're so fast that by the time I could articulate a thought, it was 6 sentences behind where they were, they're just so sharp, and they've honed their friendship to the point where it's just like an Olympic sport at this point. It's really phenomenal. So, there's Abe, and then there's Kelly O'Donnell, and there's Nat, and there's all these people that have these different energies, and they every day worked There was never a day where I was like, oof, that was a lot. God, I'm glad that person's not coming back. Like not once in maybe 3 months
Wow.
did I ever feel that way. Everyone just came in and nailed it and were delightful. Oh man, it was so great.
I don't understand though, Ashley. Are you saying that there are days when you're making TV that there, it just doesn't that there? I don't understand.
I say that as if like I ever walk out and I'm like, oh, that person was rough. That's never what happens,
No.
man. I am the person. I'm the one that like leaves and I'm like, "Ugh, I'm never gonna work again. That was terrible, and I'm certain it was all my fault. I think it was really bad. I don't
Imposter
know.
syndrome.
Oh
Something I
man.
can't on any level relate to. I've never experienced that. I don't
No,
understand.
no, no. It's like that reductress headline
Right.
that I love so much. That's like, are you even good enough for imposter syndrome?
Exactly.
Which is like,
Uh,
that's my head in a nutshell all the time.
you're not alone. I'll share
I'm
that with you.
glad to hear it. Like I'm gonna knock on wood. I've never been fired from an acting job,
Uh-huh.
but I've replaced people who have been fired from acting jobs. And I figure if I'm lucky enough to work long enough, it's going to happen, right? Like
Sure.
somebody's going to shit can me sooner or later. Like I'm just not going to be right for something and, I'll get replaced. But I feel like that's a blessing of working for a very long time. You're not going to be right for everything,
For sure not. I
you
mean,
know?
but you've been working for a long time, and like to shift the conversation to your TV work, like I could spend the next 30 minutes listing all of your credits and all of the shows you've done.
Of which I did like 6 lines
Look.
each. No.
Look, you know what? But like you've over the years become one of my favorite character actresses because whenever you show up, I know I have an idea of what I'm going to get, and you always blow it out of the park every time.
Really? Oh,
Every
thanks,
time.
man.
Every
That's
time.
so
And like
nice.
what's fun for me is someone like Sarah is very much in the theater world and knows who's doing what and pays attention to what everyone's in. Me, I'm kind of oblivious. I move through life and I'm just like, oh, let's watch a thing. And my favorite moment, not that long ago, back in 2018, I'm hyped on the Marvel shows. We're watching all the Netflix shows.
Oh, yeah.
And we're watching Jessica Jones. And in the
Oh,
cold open, there's a pizzeria. And the next scene I see is you being threatened by Jessica Jones. And I was just like, I know her. That's great. Oh my God. Like, it's just, those moments are so fun for me to get to see. Is just you show up. And of course, that scene was great and you were awesome. And
oh man, she was so cool, man. She was so cool. Like that whole thing was cool from beginning to end, right? Because like I love those shows,
sure.
like I watched the hell out of those shows. And my friend John Bernthal played the Punisher
Yeah.
and was
Oh,
phenomenal.
unbelievable.
So good. And then I had friends on Luke Cage. And so I was like really excited to join this universe. And we shot at the Spring Street Pizzeria that's right across from Spring Lounge.
Yeah.
It's a very busy, wide open pizzeria on the corner of Spring Street in Lower Manhattan. And we shot on a Friday night.
Oh,
and
man.
they had to control that street, that block. Those poor PAs, like what a block to have to shut down on a Friday night across the street from Spring Lounge, which is like one of the most popular bars, I would say, in the lower half of Manhattan.
Yeah.
So these poor kids just were working their asses off. And Kristen was lovely, absolutely lovely. She'd had a very long day, and I think they were shooting. They'd either just finished or were concurrently shooting The Adventures. So they were either shooting it concurrently or had just finished it, but she had been in the middle of a very long week and was just super fun. So pleasant. And, I'm always impressed with the level of professionalism in New York crews.
Yeah.
Like we really have our shit together for a town that could fall apart at any minute. I always feel like E.B. White wrote a book called Here's New York.
Yeah.
And at one point he just says, none of this should work. There should be an eternal bottleneck at Columbus Circle that like nobody figures out. There should be people going mad in the skyscrapers because they can't see out their windows and see anything but clouds. Like none of this should pan out. And yet we manage to keep it going day after day. And that's kind of how I feel about television production. Everyone is sort of overworked and under-rested, and the expectations are sky high. And yet we all, most of the time, come together and make something serviceable. And sometimes we make something pretty damn good. And it's hella exciting.
I love to see it happen. It's still like magic to me. Like when I watch TV with Sarah, we have very different experiences. Like she wants to pinpoint the plot points and where they're going and try to understand and get in the heads of the writers. And like she's always fascinated by the process. Whereas I'm just like, this is pretty. I like this. That's cool. Like, like a small child watching anything. Sometimes I want to know how it works, but most of the time It's like a magic show. Like I have friends who are magicians who could very well, like locals in New York, who could tell me how their tricks work and probably would, but I don't want to know. Right. I want the magic to feel real. I want to be mystified. I like that feeling.
I think I get excited about honestly, in only a marginally more sophisticated way than when I was 9 or 10 years old. I still get excited about choices. I would not have been able to articulate that as a 9 or 10-year-old, but I absolutely would rewind scenes to be like, look at that. Look, when he says that, the way she looks so upset, but then she like covers it and she's like fine about it. I want to watch that moment again, like where internal mechanisms are revealed and actors are making choices about how much they show, or in Meisner terms, they're ouch to that pinch,
right.
And that's still what I get excited. Like when I watched Lost, which must have been 10 years ago, I guess. But I remember watching, and Michael Emerson, who plays Henry Gale, or Ben, depending. Sorry, spoilers.
I think it's fine.
If you haven't watched Lost yet, you weren't gonna. Don't. It's like The Wire. It's like you either caught it or you didn't. You're never gonna go back. It's become a point of pride now that you haven't watched it. But we used to rewind just to watch his reactions to things.
Yeah.
And then when I met him, that was all I knew to say was, my husband and I rewind just to watch you react to things again, because you're always so funny and clear and consistent with character. And I just really get off on that kind of thing, which is, again, one of the things that I really loved about Abe's Trip Hayden, right? That like somebody would say something and you would just hear in the silence before Abe began to speak as Trip, you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. You could feel his disgust in the space.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, exactly. His disdain just radiated through the computer. It was phenomenal.
I love that.
Yeah. And the same with Nima's goodwill, which made it really fun for them to be like the two dudes I spent most of my time with,
Yeah.
Them and Becky, who is also just an incredible human being. Just the energies were so delicious.
I want to talk a little bit about how you got started. So I'm going to assume, like most folks, you did the whole going to school for acting thing. Did you always want to be an actress? Was that always the plan since you were a kid?
Yes and no. I think when I was very young, I really liked it. The first play I did, I was in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. Well, the first sort of not school play I did was in 5th grade. But we had I went to a private school in Arkansas that was a very small white flight school, to be completely honest, that was created in 1972 because, really quickly, 13 years after Central High and the Little Rock Nine, basically the city of Little Rock became so segregated in their housing that then the white people started moving further out west so that even though they desegregated the schools, it didn't matter because the housing markets were so disparate that all the white kids were going to school together and the black kids were going to school together. And so they instituted busing to try and fix that, at which point a bunch of racist white folks got together and made a private school. So they established this school, and that's where I went from kindergarten to 12th grade. And so we didn't have a drama department, and we didn't really have debate or any of those sorts of really cool things that other kids I knew did going to school. But I did theater at the Arkansas Arts Center Children's Theater in Little Rock, which was downtown. And it was where I met like the first other queer kids I knew. It was the first time I met anybody that was sort of racially or socioeconomically or in any way different than my parents and my siblings. So even on top of getting my first exposure to making art, it was just like the best scene and made a huge difference in my life. And I started that when I was 10. And then when I was 12, I got to do a play during the school year there, and you got to miss 11 days of school. And they trusted that you would just make up the work. But I can get a little, like a lot of people with, I think, ADD, and a not entirely small case of narcissism. I can get a little bit of tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't do that work. And so I ended up flunking 7th grade science. And my parents were furious. And they said, well, you're never doing this again. And so I wanted to be an actor. And then around 17, I want to say, I decided that I didn't think it was an ethical thing to be, that I thought it was really materialist and self-serving, which is hilarious because, like, how sweet that I thought that I would have the opportunity to be materialist about a career. How charming that I thought it was that easy, and that was what I was going to be confronted with above all else. So I didn't want to do that. And then I was going to be a journalist, and I was a journalist for a little while. And then I'd gone to Barnard here in New York and had a miserable time. And got really depressed and went home back to Little Rock, and then ended up taking about 8 months off and enrolling in a school called Hendrix College, which is a tiny liberal arts college, a fantastic tiny liberal arts college about 30 minutes outside of Little Rock. And I was going to be an English poli-sci double major there, and ended up falling in with the theater crowd like you do. Yeah, exactly. They're insidious.
So evil.
Aren't they? So evil. And so finally I was in the middle of, writing a 15-page paper while my friends were making hats. And I was like, well, this is some bullshit. Why aren't I making a hat? Like, you guys are really excited about your final projects. And they were like, yeah, aren't you? And I was like, no, I don't want to do this at all. So I sort of talked to my folks, and I think my parents were at this point, which is such a function of privilege, right? That my parents were just like, well, just do something. Do you think you can, will you do it? Like, just do it, because I had been waitressing, and going to school. I wasn't a very great student. I wasn't a particularly dedicated student, but I recognize now that that's because acting was all I really cared about. And every time I sort of neglected that to push something else in front of it because I thought I wasn't worthy of it, or I thought that it wasn't appropriate for me to do.
Right.
I was negating something that had been true in me for a really long time, So once I finally embraced that, everything felt so much easier. Like, I can still remember the ease that I felt as soon as that happened, where I could just, it was like it's the closest thing that isn't to what I remember coming out feeling like.
Right.
Of like, well, whatever this gets me, at least I'm like being honest in it. And whether it is more difficult or less difficult, at least I don't have to fake anything anymore, you know?
Sure. I mean, the irony in saying I don't have to fake anything being paid to play people that aren't you.
Isn't that
It's
ridiculous?
so great.
But I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, I'm always me. I'm just like different iterations of me.
Sure.
I'm me if you add some things and take out some other things, you know, which is a very, it's a sort of sketchy thing to say when you play shitty white supremacists
Yeah.
and stuff like that for a living. But like, I based that character in Black Klansman off of moms of girls I knew
Right.
growing up in Little Rock. And there was language that I use in that film that came from those women that I introduced into that film because it was stuff that I had heard growing up in Little Rock.
Let's talk a little bit about Black Klansman. A movie that
I love that movie.
Has been lauded and folks love, and you got to play such a interesting character. And like, so I'm curious first, obviously you auditioned. What was the audition process like for Black Klansman? Were there multiple callbacks? Like, how did that process go?
Well, first of all, the project itself was a little hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
So it came under the numbered title of 311 or 311.
Mm.
And there was no information. There was an address of where I was supposed to go, which was sort of rehearsal studios, you know, one-on-one type of thing. But it didn't say Kim Coleman, and it certainly didn't say Spike Lee.
Right.
And so, and I'm just getting these two scenes, and the two scenes are the scene where I bring Adam Driver's character into the meeting.
Yeah.
And tell my husband and pull this, you know, piece of newspaper out of my pocket and say that we need to do something about, we need to teach this girl, Laura Harrier's character, this young woman, a lesson. That scene and the one in the bed with my husband where we talk about murdering Black people.
Yeah.
And those were the audition sites. And so I got them and I flipped out and called my agents and I was like, is this what the fuck
what is this? What am I doing?
Yeah. Is this like some fucked up white supremacist like student film? You guys, this is bullshit. I'm not doing this. And they were like, oh, it's from Spike. And I was like, Thursday at 2? Yeah, okay, I'll be there. Like immediately. It was a complete 180 once I found out that Spike was the one handling the material. I'd worked with Spike before in Inside Man. And then his sister and I did looping vocals for the film Miracle at St. Anna that he did. And Spike is an incredibly kind and loyal person. And I was thrilled by the idea of getting to work with him again. I had auditioned for She's Gotta Have It. And my friend Kim, director, and I both went in for the role, which Kim got, and rightly so, because she nails it in that TV show. But I was a little bummed that I wasn't going to get to work with Spike again. And so to then, like, just a couple months after, get the call to audition for this was very exciting. And as soon as I knew it was him, I started sort of investigating the angles of, like, how can I do this and make it honest? Because I knew that the one thing I couldn't do was apologize in it.
Right.
Which is, like, a real hard thing to do because, like, even as an actor, I want people to know that I don't agree with Connie.
Right.
So to train your body to say, to like not squirm and like, you know, put your hands out or shrink from these hideous things you're saying, take some practice.
Sure.
You know, so I had to work on that. But I walked into the room and so it was just Spike. There was no one else in the room, which is in and of itself hysterical. And it's just him and a camera, and he's operating the camera and talking to me. And then an assistant came in to read, but before that it was just he and I, and he just said, well, she's just in love with the wrong man. And I thought, gosh, that's sweet of you, and you're letting me off the hook and allowing me to do these things honestly without having to examine like my complicitness in these modes, these modalities. But I thought, that's not actually true. This isn't just about who she's in love with,
right?
I think it goes actually far deeper than that for Connie, and to say that it's just about her husband is actually diminishing the role of women's upholding of white supremacy.
Right. It's so, the whole movie and like the awards it got and just how celebrated it was. Did you have any idea? I mean, obviously it's Spike, right? So you have some idea of how ridiculously huge this movie will probably be regardless. But did the scope like even occur to you at the time?
Yes and no. I mean, at some point you look around the table at the table read, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a pretty, I've got JD Washington and Adam Driver and Topher Grace and Laura Harrier and like Alec Baldwin and all, like it was wild. The cast was, and really exciting. But yeah, when you're doing it, it's hard to think about what it's going to do. You're just sort of making it. And it was so much work that I feel like if I had started to think about the effect of it, I would have been way too scared to do it.
Right.
Because it was terrifying. And like, and what I really don't want to do though is center myself in that discussion, right? In terms of like me saying like, oh, it's so hard to say racist shit. Because it's like, okay, sure. But like, I know who I am, and I am saying these things to people that do not know me, and people that have no reason to believe that I am not speaking from that place, even and especially if I deny that I'm speaking from a place of upholding white supremacy and of racism. Because I had to say, I had a friend, when I was telling him about the project, he was like, oh yeah, do you say this? And I was like, oh, Ray, that's not even like the 10th worst thing.
Wow.
I'm like, I do a lot. I say that word a lot, but I say like so many worse things in this. And I just think it just felt, it felt like a huge honor to be entrusted with playing someone so terrible.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important. I've talked about this a lot since this movie came out, but I do think it's really important that we honor our place as film and TV villains, because we play, as white people, we played protagonists for so long because it was our stories being told and only our stories being told.
Yeah.
And if we are playing shitty white supremacists, which historically scans, then that means that stories are being told of triumph over systems of oppression, or stories that illuminate these systems of oppression that have existed way before I was born. And those stories need to be told. And it's a great honor to get to be one of the people that tells them. Nima, to go back to Nima Jarabji, when I was doing Black Klansman, he was like, well, everybody's going to hate you. And he said, you're playing a terrorist. And I was like, yeah, Nima, how many times, because Nima also does stunts. I was like, how many times did you play a terrorist in the last month? And he was like, oh, like 7 times, like 7 different times. And I was like, yeah, but if we're being honest about who's actually perpetrating terrorist acts in the United States, they look a lot more like me than they look like you.
Yeah.
And it's about time that Hollywood, and I say that in quotes, you know, because it's not confined to a neighborhood, this
Right.
industry, that film and TV start showing who's really perpetrating those acts and stop fostering this artificial insinuation that it's brown and black people doing the majority of acts against the people in the United States. You dig? I feel like that was a rant. I don't know how to end it with anything, but
I just
you dig.
that was expertly landed. I loved it. I also what I love about your work is that you transform yourself from role to role, and you've gotten to do such a large variety of different things. And like even things like we talked about a narrative podcast where you were the star, which is so cool. And then
so fun.
And then like you even were in a video game. How cool is that?
I was, and it was so fun, and it was performance capture. I was in Watch Dogs 2, which is a Ubisoft game.
Yep.
And I play a baddie in that as well. Like, it's crazy. I don't think I ever played a bad guy until like 2018. And then it was just bad guys, like no nonstop for about 3 years. And it was so fun. And this was during that time as well. I played Lenny, and Lenny is a vaping asshole, basically, who is a hacker for the lols and just is really into destruction. And basically, it's funny because I don't know enough about computers really to speak super intelligently about Lenny. She places malware that like can like, and ransomware that can like really mess your life up. She also is a terrorist that places bombs in people's facilities and stuff like that. But it's performance capture, which is really fun because you get to do all of it. It's not just voice acting. You're actually getting to physically act these scenes with the other actors in a space. And there's little tiny ping pong balls all over the black suit that you wear and little black dots on your face that they line up so that they can make incredibly accurate illustrations, moving graphics of you doing these things. It's so cool.
It's so wild. And like
it's so wild.
I've seen so much motion capture footage too, and like it runs the gamut. Like it all looks silly, right? Because you're wearing these outfits to capture it. But like one of my favorite motion capture videos is when they showed Benedict Cumberbatch playing Smog.
Oh, it's the best. Where he's like on the ground and you're like, my God, like so really? Because for the first 3 seconds, I'm like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. And then like by second 8, I'm like, this is some Shakespearean level shit. Yeah. Like this is astonishing.
Yeah.
Astonishing. You see him become that creature and you see what that creature wants and what it fears and what motivates it, and just the level of nuance is extraordinary. Yeah, I would kill in order to be able to achieve that sort of thing. It was astonishing. I just had a good time. I just really, I was working with people I really like. Ruffin Prentice played the main character in that video game, and we just got to pal around the whole time and be, really silly together, which is always the best thing, right? Like when it goes right, these jobs are like the best summer camp you could ever have. you know.
Totally.
And you keep some friends, and some friends, if you run into them, you love them, but you'll never probably hang out with them again,
Right.
you know. But that doesn't mean that the love isn't still there. We just all get busy.
Sure.
And you've got another, hopefully, another camp coming up, you know.
Where you get to play together. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I want to, we've already been talking for 45 minutes, if you can believe it. The time is
Oh my
flying.
God, really? And I feel like we've covered no ground,
No ground.
whatsoever.
That's okay. You'll just have to come back sometime. That's all.
Oh, I love that.
But I do want to ask a little bit about the dreaded pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Let's
hard
talk
for
about it.
all of us, right? It was hard for a lot of folks for a lot of different reasons. But for artists, especially folks in the film and TV industry, it was hard because it was unhealthy. It was a health risk to work together for a period of time.
Yeah.
I imagine that was really hard on you. Did you have anything that you did to get through that time that like gave you hope or pulled you through some good moments that really stand out beyond the mire of the shit that was going down both in this country and just with the pandemic in general?
Absolutely. I have several things that were incredibly helpful, which were I am still a member of several groups that coalesced around that time,
Mm-hmm.
that started meeting on Zoom. There's a group that I'm a part of called the Commissary, that was that I joined, I think, months after it began, and Marin Ireland invited me to join after we did a reading together. And it was a group that initially focused on works that celebrated Black liberation as a means of collective liberation,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And then we sort of expanded from there and focused on a very cool kind of in-ear working where we would do like James Baldwin being interviewed by Audre Lorde, and so somebody would be Audre Lorde and somebody would be James Baldwin, and they would listen, and James Baldwin would say three words, and he would say, and as he said, after he said three words, that person would say three words, but they're also listening to the next three words. So you're speaking and listening to the next thing you say.
Wow.
At the same time. So it becomes, at best, this really cool channeling sort of thing. It's really neat.
That's really
It's
cool.
really neat. And it's something that I had never seen before this group did it. And it just, it gave me access to a lot of texts and a lot of things that I didn't know about. I wasn't conversant at all about the Schoenberg Library
Mm-hmm.
here in New York. And there were a lot of texts that I had not read. I hadn't read a lot of bell hooks. There were a lot of different writers that I just didn't know nearly enough about, that I got to explore more deeply because of the Commissary. And we're still going, and we're still trying to, I haven't been because I'm doing two projects that I can't talk about, which is such a dumb time to come on your lovely show when I can't promote any of the things that I'm doing. But it's made me absent at the Commissary for a little bit. But that group really just helped me get through. I restarted The Artist's Way a while back,
Mm-hmm.
which I had done years ago. But I just really felt this draw to do morning pages. My friend Wyatt had started it for the first time, and he's like, "Boy, these are cool." I was like, "Yeah, I need to refocus," and so started doing those again. There were a lot of things, and a lot of people that, as my world became infinitely smaller, it felt like that really helped me through that process. What about you, Matt?
I thank you for asking me. It's funny. I was DJing a lot of burlesque shows and doing a lot of live shows up until right before the pandemic, and I made an active decision to stop doing them to focus on my podcasts like February before the world shut down in March.
Good timing, man. Good timing.
And so that was fortuitous. But what sucked and was hard in the beginning was because I decided to focus on my podcast. I'm currently producing 8 shows and hosting 4. I know it's a lot, and I know I'm a crazy person, but beyond that, like I was like, all right, well, I'm going to apply to all these cons. I'm going to get press passes, and I got a press pass to PAX East, which is a game convention in Boston, and that happened right before the shutdown. And then all the other press passes I had throughout the rest of the year went up in smoke as those conventions all shut down for COVID. Man. And so that really bummed me out for the longest time. But I got really lucky because a bunch of games journalists and games writers who I met at that convention before the world shut down created like a small Discord server where we could all just like play Jackbox games or play some other multiplayer video games together and just kind of hang out. And it became this haven for me where like I would hang out with these folks that I'd only met once or twice, but we'd talk almost every week. We'd make sure that we met, we got together, we commiserated, and now they've become some of my closest friends. One of them turns out to live on the other side of Prospect Park. And yeah, my friend Jesse, who we were on a panel together, and last month after we were both fully vaccinated, had dinner together for the first time since the pandemic.
Exciting.
Right? Isn't that cool? And like,
that's great.
I got to spend the year doing what I intended, focusing on my podcasts, moving certain shows that I was doing off my podcast network onto it. I got a job producing Shut Up Evan, which is an incredible podcast hosted by Evan Ross Katz, where our season finale was with Zachary Quinto, of all people. And got to do podcast production for a person I love and for a show that I loved. And like, I don't think any of that came up. Here's this for irony or kismet or whatever you want to call it. Sarah and I'm not sure if you know, Sarah and I lost our apartment last year in August. I've talked about this.
In a fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
I talked about this on the show. 1 week later, a friend of mine from another podcast network reaches out and goes, "Hey, my buddy's looking for a new producer. Can I connect you?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll look into it." And he connects us. I booked becoming the new producer for season 2 of Shut Up Evan 2 weeks after my apartment burned down.
Oh my God.
Is that not wild?
Yeah.
It's just,
wow.
Like, and so because of things like that, I know that like, there was still stuff that sucked about the pandemic from end to end, without a doubt.
Oh, for sure.
But like those moments kept me going, realizing like there is still stuff to be done. There is still stuff out there. And like, now I'm still in high gear working on tons of stuff. And like, I booked my first in-person wedding to DJ this fall. So like things are starting to shift, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, also the easy answer for all of what got me through is Sarah, right? Like having a partner as incredible as her.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Like having an incredible partner at home that may want to kill you every so often, but for the most part loves you deeply. Yeah,
Leon Chase keeps that to himself if he wants to kill me. He's so kind.
He's the kindest man.
Oh my God. He's so incredible. And I also have to say that, we got sick very early. Mm-hmm. We were sick in March of 2020 before it was cool. And so by the time the lockdown happened, we'd been sick for 6 weeks.
Right.
So we were like, oh, well, so nobody else is going anywhere now too? Okay, whatever. We're going back to bed. And I did manage to do a bunch of 24-hour monologues, which was really fun. Cool. I did one when I had full-blown COVID, and it took about 56 takes to get this monologue down. Yeah, including ones where I just stare off into space for several minutes. It's really dark. And also, my friend from roller derby, who goes by the name Hebraham Lincoln in roller derby.
Such a good name. Oh my God.
It's so good, right? Started a Twitch group called the Pop Culture Co-op, mm-hmm. which is a co-op that is on Twitch with a bunch of different shows. There's Wine and Dynasty, where on Wednesday afternoon when Dynasty comes on, 2 of our friends get drunk and critique it, do a live sort of Twitch feed. I have 2 shows, one with Hammy called Big Time, which is about fatness and pop culture. Mm-hmm. and one called Bring Singles with my friend Lauren, that is about strip clubs, drag shows, gambling, and dive bars. And so, which are four of our very favorite things. And we are on the co-op is on hiatus through August, and then hope to be back very soon to run at least till December with our current programming. And the strip clubs will be back open, so they are opening up as we speak. So I'm very excited to do some. They won't let you record in a strip club,
No.
but I look forward to doing some immediately before and after being in strip club storylines.
I love
for Bring
that.
Singles.
I'm gonna have to go right after this and follow it. So I actually, that's another thing I started doing. I had always streamed on Twitch inconsistently, and then when I got let go from my day job, of course, due to the pandemic, I had more time, and so I started streaming a couple times a week. And then over this over I think March or April, maybe a little later, towards the fall of 2020, a game came out called Fuser, which is a DJ game. It's made by the folks who made Rock Band and Guitar Hero, where you can live mix your own music, pulling discs down, representing different instruments. And I was obsessed with it. I loved it, and I played the hell out of it. Well, I got connected with the social media manager for Fuser, and long story short, too late, I became a featured streamer for Fuser. And so now I stream almost once a week. I do a DJ set, usually 2 or 3 sets, and they host it on their channel.
Cool. That's really cool, man.
And like, that was one of those things where it's like, I grew up playing Guitar Hero. I bought that stupid plastic guitar for my PS2 and like played the hell out of it. And now I'm working with that company. Like, that's the kind of thing that kind of blows my mind. But now that I know that you're on Collective on Twitch, I'm going to auto host it. I'm going to share it. Like, that's awesome. I can't wait to check that out. It sounds like it's so much fun.
It's been so much fun, and it's been delightful to think that after all this time of thinking that these were things that only other people could do, roller derby should have taught me that that's not true. And yet I continue to perceive myself as someone who's not capable of being parts of these sort of self-started, self-generated projects. And yet, for all intents and purposes, it looks like this is going to be a continuing successful endeavor, which is really exciting. Roller derby was the same. I joined 17 years ago when we didn't have enough people to front. We couldn't even have a bout because we didn't have enough people that regularly came to have 2 teams of 5. And now, Gotham is our 5-time world champions, and we cap tryouts at 120 people for about 8 to 14 slots every year. It's really exciting stuff. I'm on the board of directors now. I can't skate anymore. The moneymaker, Matt.
Yeah,
the money
I get it.
Can't bruise it.
No,
it's really that I was in the more beer, less rules era. And that these girls, their athleticism. Like, I couldn't join that team now. I'd never make it on. Like, there's no fucking way. Like, I was all positive vibes and very lazy skating.
I'm so glad you brought up roller derby. I'm going to have you back to talk about that, because
I would love that.
You're one of my 2 friends now that does roller derby. I have a friend who now lives in Texas, I think, who used to do roller derby for ages, both here and I think does it there too. My friend Emily. But like, there's so much more we can cover, but I know you've got.
I want to talk about this.
We'll do this again. But I have one question for you before we go.
Sure.
So, you and my spouse have actually both been on shows together. 2, in fact. One of them is very obvious. It's, of course, Law & Order SVU.
Right.
You both were
Obviously.
on that. But
yes.
Do you know what the other show is?
That Sarah and I were both on.
Yes, you didn't share any scenes, but you were both in that show.
I feel like I must. Now I'm like, can I cheat and look at my own IMDb and see? No, because then you won't believe that I'm not looking at her IMDb.
If you don't remember, it's okay. I just thought it was a fun fact.
It's either Bull or Blue Bloods is going to be my guess.
It's neither. It was The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. And I remember exactly who she is. She's at the newsstand. Yep. Yes,
candy bar.
absolutely. And then
Zagnut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I jokingly on our vacation last week, we went to a candy store. We actually went to what's his name? There's a candy store in Rhinebeck, New York, owned by Paul Rudd and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And we were there, and they had Zagnuts, and I pointed them out. She went, "Oh no, I can't. I ate so many Zagnuts that day. Never again." I was like, that made me laugh pretty hard.
That's pretty great.
It is really great. Well, Ashlie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. This was so wonderful.
Oh, Matt, the pleasure has been all mine. Thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come on again. You're such a delight to talk to.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, and you're a delight to be around. You have this energy that is absolutely infectious. Both you and Leon do. And Sarah and I miss you both deeply, and hopefully sometime soon.
Would miss you guys too. I would love to have that dinner.
Yes, sometime soon. You love that, right? Like, yeah, we should do dinner soon. And then it's been 3 years.
Oh my God, it's been 3 years, and we're still like, oh. We really do, and it's not like my enthusiasm is quelled.
Me neither.
You know what? Yeah, I'm still on it. I'm still rowdy about it, Matt. Let's make it happen.
We will, I promise. But before we go, I would love you to tell folks where they can find you on the internet and the best place to find the kinds of stuff you're working on. I know you have projects right now that you can't promote, but maybe some other stuff you want them to check out in the meantime.
It drives me crazy that I can't talk about these two really exciting projects, but I will be able to someday. And when I can, you can find me on Twitter at Ashlie Atkinson. I'm also still on Facebook. I don't really know why, frankly. I am on Instagram at Ashlie ASHLIE_Atkinson on Instagram. You can also follow the Pop Culture Co-op, which is me and my friends making really cool content. Ooh, that word makes me nauseous.
Yeah, same.
Making really cool shows about stuff we care about a lot. And you can follow us on Instagram at Pop Culture Co-op, which is all one word, or Pop Culture Co-op on Twitter. And we advertise our Twitch shows, which should be back starting sometime in August. So come check us out.
Awesome. Thank you again so much. My last favor I will ask, Ashlie, is that we have a saying on this show, and it's music is life and life is good. This phrase is born out of a music show that I don't do anymore, but also this idea that as long as you are creatively doing something that satisfies you, life isn't that bad. So if you could say music is life and life is good, we will sign off the show.
Music is life. Life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.nat.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
Established in 19... Oh, that's my phone. Where is it? Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Yikes. That's my agent. Sorry, Kyle. We'll talk in a minute.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not.
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans.
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're a whole Screen Beans now.
She will be mine.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.